Ready now for the first half, and as the sides line up, Newtown and the dark jerseys and white shorts are playing left to right. There's the kick-off. Fairly deep one. It'll go back to King, although he'll let it go. Clale's sort of getting onto it. It's loose on the ground. Madison manages to dive on it, and St George have the ball about 20 yards out from their own line. Playing it to Walsh. Getting away well to Ryan. Ryan straight and hard through Olive, but Olive comes again, and the lock forward Boyle also in there for the tackle. Right in front of the St George post and about 20 yards out. A magnificent day. Beautifully sunny day at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and a crowd around about the 15,000 mark as this game gets underway in the opening minutes.
Well, it looks a bright match from the start, and Newtown, with all the determination in the world, have taken St George on and hopping straight into St George quick and lively, and this could develop into a very interesting match with referee Bradley, of course, in charge of the game.
St George just now pinned down, a complete reversal to the way they started the match last week against South Sydney. Now they're on the receiving end of some very heavy defensive work. Hudded with the ball now and playing it back to Walsh, and only 10 yards out. He's taken the easy way out, a long one back to Langlands and a deep kick, but it'll go straight back there to Brian Graham, taking it just inside his own half. Slips there as Clay comes through and gets him right on the halfway line. An old St George player, of course, Brian Graham. Getting it away well there is Carnegie running across field. The Newtown 5'8", caught on the halfway line and played out there by Nobbs. Gets it away well to Olive, and Olive will play this ball just inside his own half. Newtown in possession, running left to right in this first half. Let's see now how they stand up to the pulverising defence of this huge St George pack. Getting out amongst the backs this time, and let's see if the ball can get out towards the wing. On the wing nearest the camera is Dick Quinn for Newtown. Getting a good pass away was Bullock into the forwards again, but the St George defence standing up very, very tightly. Cuneo playing the ball back there to Jeffries, to Olive rather, getting it away to Wilson. Clay underneath him, and he goes through Clay, still going, Raper in there, and also Madison, and they pull him down. Took a long while to do it, though, just short of the halfway line. Wilson playing the ball for Newtown. Back to Olive. He goes straight and hard into the forwards. They're waiting for him, and he's brought down again just a foot or so inside the Newtown half. Quinn distributing the ball there very well and getting it back to Nobbs. Nobbs brought down about 10 yards inside his own half. Bit of lax stuff there. And Newtown getting to his feet and playing the ball. Bullock so far can't make any penetration. This is Quinn with a reverse pass trying to get his forwards on the move.
Well, and we notice, of course, that Barry Beath has left the field, but Beath has been injured his shoulder arm, and he's left the field, and now St George will be playing with 12 men. And Newtown have opened this match in wonderful fashion, most aggressive and with every purpose. It's good to see Newtown taking the initiative. Here's big Graham Wilson they're going to use, standing wide on the run, and a big strong forward will make it difficult for St George players, but it'll take a little time for them to settle down. 3 minutes play in the first half and no score.
Well, it's not a bad old start. There's a penalty for Newtown, offside play by St George. A very long one. The breeze is blowing quite lightly, but pretty well against the direction of the kick. There's the kick, pretty shallow, and I think a bit too shallow. Hit the right upright, bounce back. Let's see who can get onto it. It's Rasmussen picking it up about 15 yards out. Tackle there by Quinn, and he'll play it back to Walsh to Clay. Straight and hard across field. Carnegie helped drag him down, and he's just a little bit short of his own 25. Plays it to Walsh, to Huddard. Straight through the Newtown pack. Jeffries, number 12, in there for Newtown, helps drag him back a couple of yards, and he'll play this one about 20 yards out. In the meantime, Barry Beath is being led off the field for St George, and St George still one man down. Now it goes from Clay to Madison to Pollard, and he's beaten one tackle, and he's got King coming inside. He's trying to bump off tackles, and eventually tackled by Nobbs, just short of the halfway line, members stand touchline. Plays it to Madison. Rasmussen to Smith. Goes past Huddard to Clay, and Clay trying to bump off tackle, still going. Jeffries still managed to cling to one boot. He plays it to Walsh, to Ryan, going across towards the scoreboard touchline, trying to bump off tackles again, but the Newtown defence very, very good. They're standing up to the very big St George foot. Well, the clock shows only 12 minutes gone in the first half, and St George, with the attempted conversion to come, leads Newtown 8 points to 0. 2 tries by Raper, the last one, after very quick thinking by Johnny King. The first try, of course, by Graham Langlands. And this goal being attempted by King. This is the third goal kicker in 3 attempts. And the kick being taken about 27 yards out from the Newtown line and just about 4 or 5 yards, not quite that, perhaps in from touch. No wind at all, the flag's hanging almost limply. And King is quite a surprisingly good goal kicker. With so many good kicks in the St George side, he rarely gets the opportunity, but let's see what he can do this time. Left foot kick, and it's gone to the right, flagged away. And so after about 13 minutes play in the first half, St George 8, Newtown 0. He'll play this one 35 yards out from his own line. Walsh scoops it off the ground back to Smith, cuts out Raper, gets it to Huddard. Huddard caught there and well tackled by Cuneo. Smith back inside there and finds Rasmussen again, straight and hard through the Newtown forwards, and they're still in this spot midway between their own 25 and the halfway line. Clay now. It's to Madison, and Madison knocked back for his trouble a couple of yards. They're 35 yards out from St George line centre field. Raper to Smith. Got Clay with him back inside to Clay. Clay cutting across field. No real support, and Boyle again, the Newtown lock, comes across and puts him down 10 yards short of the halfway line. Went behind Ryan to Gourlay. Smith getting it away to Huddard. Huddard put down. They're still pinned down. They can't seem to break the Newtown defence at this stage, but they move the ball quickly. Here's Smith again. Caught before he can move more than a couple of paces, and in fact in 2 or 3 play the ball, St George have lost about 5 yards. Goes to Rasmussen. Looking towards Pollard, can't get a pass clear. He's held again by Boyle, who's certainly done a lot of good cover work for Newtown. Raper from the dummy half position. Knocked down there by Newtown player, eventually dived on though by Ryan, but there's a penalty to Newtown. This one well within kicking distance for Lanigan. Lanigan is ready now. Breeze blowing slightly across the flight of the ball, but it shouldn't worry him. And Newtown could do badly with 2 points. Here goes the kick. Much better looking, that one, and the flags are up, and so Newtown have got first points on the board. St George now lead Newtown 8 points to 2 after 16 minutes play in the first half. This is Jeffries darting through, and he beat a couple of players there with a pretty obvious sort of a dummy, makes it up to the 10-yard line. Olive getting it away, and he dummies there to Paul Quinn. Quinn gets the ball eventually, goes through, he's grasped 3-4 yards out from the St George line. Newtown looking much better now. Little Nobbs trying to dart his way and weave his way through. He's made it up to about 3 or 4 yards, and inch by inch Newtown is starting to push St George back. Over Olive's head, it's loose, picked up eventually by Keys. There's a lot of defence ahead of him, and he's carving his way through, eventually taken by Walsh underneath and also by Gourlay. Plays it to Jeffries, gets it away well there to Wilson, and Wilson is dragged down about 20 yards out now from the St George line. Carnegie this time in possession, and he's just inside the St George 25. They're losing just a fraction in possession, just can't seem to get themselves going at top gear. Paul Quinn now trying to dart his way through, well taken though by Huddard and also by Ryan. Plays it to Jeffries. Tries the other side, this one could pay off. But again the St George defence holding. Walsh, no, he decides to let Gourlay do the marking. Goes from Nobbs across there to Carnegie to Keys. Keys well taken underneath by Clay, and Newtown now have been pushed back outside the St George 25. Graham Wilson straight and hard trying to bump tacklers off, but everyone clings on, and he's brought play up just outside the St George 25 again. From Boyle across there's a penalty for offside play by St George. A penalty to Newtown. Could be a very easy 2 points for Lanigan. 2 points could be a very vital difference, and there it goes. And it's through again, another 2 points for Lanigan and also for Newtown, of course, and St George now lead Newtown 8 points to 4 after 22 and a half minutes play in the first half. And here's Rasmussen's kick-off. Very deep one. Graham underneath it, behind his own line, takes it well. He's a very neat sort of a runner. Let's see how far out he can get. Clay, and Clay takes him head on, a crash tackle that puts him down 15 yards out from the Newtown line. Fed away by Jeffries there to Cuneo, and Cuneo trying to wrestle his way through, taken eventually head on by Walsh, marked by Gourlay. Newtown on their own 25 as Olive now spears it. Oh, it's a knock on. Let's see who gets to it. knock a penalty anyway to St George. That one in not a particularly right spot for Newtown, right on the Newtown 25. King with this ball on the Newtown 25. Just follow this one through, watch the touch judges, a very high one, and the flags are up, and so St George has gone a bit further ahead now, leads Newtown 10 points to 4 after 25 minutes play in the first half. Good stuff by Newtown as Olive goes flying through, and now they're inside the St George 25. This is Carnegie, and gets his pass away well to Keys, and Keys is flying for the line, but underneath it was Raper again, who came flying over and still going. Can he make the line? He'll try and reach out. No, he's grasped about 1 foot short of the St George line. Good stuff by Keys. Jeffries gets it away well. Here's a tremendous overlap, but they're fast enough as it comes to Nobbs, and Nobbs is put down about 2 yards short. St George will have to watch themselves. Jeffries a bit slow to get to that one, but gets it to Quinn, to Wilson. Wilson's caught, but he's through one tackle, still going, and players coming in from all directions. Langland's in with a pretty vicious sort of a tackle that stopped him about 2 yards short. Plays it to Quinn. He'll bite to Cuneo. Cuneo diving for the line. It's flipped back. Picked up back there by Nobbs, I think, is still going hard and straight for the line. Makes it to within about 5 yards of the St George line. Good attacking football by Newtown as it comes to Olive. Going straight and hard on his own, and he's dragged down by Rasmussen about 4 yards short of the St George line. Goes back to Paul Quinn, goes behind him, running right around the edge of the ruck, tries to go through Huddard, but Huddard and also Ryan come through and put him down. They're losing ground about 15 yards out as Olive spears it away to Nobbs. Gets it away well that time to, I think it was Cuneo going through. Plays it back there, it'll come out to Graham. Again up as extra man, he's put down by Smith. He's about 12 yards out from the St George line. Plays it to Keys. It's taken off him by Smith, and there'll be a penalty here to Newtown. Another 2 points possibly coming up, but that's not what they wanted. This is Lanigan placing the ball just a fraction outside the St George 25 and about 12 yards in from touch. Again, a very vital kick. It's only his boot so far that's kept Newtown anywhere near the St George score, because the scoreboard shows 2 tries by St George to none by Newtown, and it's only 2 penalty goals by Lanigan that has helped them keep any sort of respectable face. But here he comes in to try and make it 6. Very shallow kick, but it's through again. Another 2 points. 3 out of 4 attempts for Lanigan, and St George now lead Newtown 10 points to 6. Carnegie this time grasped about 10 yards short of the halfway line centre field. Nobbs getting it away well to Paul Quinn, over towards Lanigan's wing, but they can't get a pass clear over that side, and again I don't think it's touched Lanigan in any of the backline movements. This is Paul Quinn dummying, trying to go through on his own. This time they could get over towards Lanigan, but the Newtown attack a little bit slow off the mark. They don't seem to be able to get enough speed to get going. They're right on the halfway line. Clay the tackler. Nobbs getting it away well to Wilson, running over again towards Lanigan's wing. Let's see if he can get through this time, and he's certainly making ground. Has brought play up about midway now between the St George 25 and the halfway line, and Lanigan will touch the ball from the dummy half position to Jeffries. Nobbs getting it away well. Here's a decent sort of a movement to Keys. Keys trying to beat Smith. Smith around the ankles, a good tackle. Newtown actually lost about 8 yards in the movement. Played back by Boyle to Nobbs, a long one over there to Cuneo. This is Bullock getting to his feet and playing the ball, but Newtown just losing ground. Graham now up as extra man, trying to get some life into that back line as it goes to Olive, getting it away well. Good sort of a pass to Carnegie, who'll play it to Keys. The St George defence just seems impregnable. Newtown have been in possession now for about 5 or 6 minutes, but can't make any forward progress. But here's a chance as Olive now has burst up inside the St George half. And they look so much better when they run straight. This is Cuneo going through, and he tries to burst through one tackle, gets it back there to Carnegie, going through still well, and he's brought play up midway between the St George 25 and the halfway line. Plays it to Jeffries. Nobbs away to Wilson. Wilson straight and hard, still trying to go, and he's tackled underneath there beautifully by Huddard, I think it was, by Goulet, who's a little bit sick. Goes across there from Paul Quinn to Keys. Keys propping, trying to go inside the cover defence, but Clay gets him.
I think Huddard's fairly sick too, Jim. Excuse me about it. I think Huddard's fairly sick too. I was watching him there, and he's taking all his time to stand up, and so St George would have Goulet and Huddard at this stage.
Yes, I can see what you mean with Huddard, Ray. He certainly is a sick boy. Here's another penalty to Newtown, incidentally. Centre field, and only, he can probably take it back midway between the St George 25 and the halfway line. with the score at the moment. St George 10, the half-time hooter going in the background. St George 10, Newtown 6, and really not a great deal in this game. And now, as Ray has said, St George with a couple of passengers, Gourlay and Huddard. He's taken it back less than 35 yards, only about 30 yards, in fact, a little bit more than that perhaps, from the St George line, centre field. No wind really to worry about. The flags are hanging quite limply. And if he can get this one over, it'll make the game very, very interesting with only 2 points the difference. But let's wait until he does that, because as he comes in, the score is St George 10, Newtown 6. It's his 5th attempt and he's landed 3 goals. And there's his kick, a high one. And the flags are up. Another 2 points for Newtown. And so at half-time, St George 10 lead Newtown 8. And for St George, a try by Langlands, another one by Raper, a goal by Langlands and a goal by King, and for Newtown, 4 goals to Bob Lanigan. Jeffries gets it away well there to Olive, across to Boyle, to Carnegie, to Keys, looks for Bullock going on his own, taken underneath by Smith, but play now for the first time in the opening 2 or 3 minutes inside St George half.
Well, Newtown have come really right back into this game and are attacking in this half after 2 minutes in the second half. And St George, they look a bit ragged and they look a bit tired, matter of fact. And as I speak, Newtown on the attack. A good
run by Carnegie, Ray.
It was an excellent run.
And Newtown have the ball. This could be a bit of a danger as it comes out to Paul Quinn to Olive. Olive looks towards Keys, finds Keys. Keys is well taken though underneath by Pollard. Will play it back to Olive just short of the St George 25. Reverse pass to Paul Quinn, straight and hard. It took Walsh underneath to stop him, and a good tackle from behind there by Keith Madison. Over it goes from Nobbs to Cuneo. A good one over there towards centre Bullock. He had his winger Quinn with him. They're fairly deep now inside the St George 25s. It goes from Nobbs across here to a good run there by Boyle. The Newtown lock almost burst clear, but a tackle underneath by Huddard. Plays it to Jeffries. Tries the other side, finds Nobbs. Backs to Olive. Olive weaving around, crashes into Huddard, and Huddard's still a pretty sick player. It shook him up again. His shoulder's gone, I think. Comes back this time to Paul Quinn. He's flying for the line. Put down about 5 yards short.
Well, Newtown have desperately tried to make the break there, but a wonderful defence by St George, and looked at any period of time there that Newtown would score. St George will look a bit ragged in this first 5 minutes of the second half, and will need to lift their game to keep in the lead or pull this game out of the fire.
And it's a St George ball, I think, although it's in the scrum, and apparently we've had a couple of knock-ons, and so the scrum will pack down again. Still only about 10 or 11 yards out from the St George line. And interesting to note that in the first half there was only one scrum, which was won by St George. Put in by Smith. And it's a Newtown ball that comes from Carnegie, and Mr. Bradley doesn't like it. Has given a penalty to St George, and that really eases the pressure. And the crowd ironically cheering over there because the boot was on the other foot in the first half. Good kick, which will find touch midway between the St George 25 and the halfway line. The scrum to go down there, and Smith to put it in for St George. Clock showing 7 minutes gone in the second half, with St George still leading, the same score as we had at half-time, 10 points to 8. Some heads sticking out of the scrum, but it looks a little bit better now. Smith puts it in for St George, and it's a St George ball. Smith gets to it, but apparently went in the second row, and we'll have a penalty this time to Newtown. This one certainly within the range of Bob Lanigan. It's a fair way out midway between the St George 25 and the halfway line, and this could level the scores. And here goes the kick. Good looking one, and let's see, the flags are up and the scores are levelled. 10 points each after 8 minutes play in the second half. That was Lanigan's 5th goal from 6 attempts. Scrum to go down then about 6 yards short of the halfway line, and Nobbs to put it in for Newtown. And another Newtown ball, but there's a penalty immediately against Nobbs. I wonder if they'll have a shot at goal from here. King's walking up to take the ball, and probably he will have a shot at goal. It's about 8 yards or so inside the Newtown half. No, he's decided to go for touch. A good safe kick that will bring play down about Let's see. Well, he didn't make much more than about 8 yards, I suppose. Play to go is midway between the Newtown 25 and the halfway line, and Smith now to put the ball into the scrum for St George. And the scrum has collapsed, and the ball will be locked in there somewhere by the look of it, and Jack Bradley has blown his whistle, and for loose arms, and I dare say quite a few other things, there's a penalty to St George. Well, this one 35 yards out, 10 yards in from touch. Let's see what he can do with it. The breeze is just about non-existent, so he can have no excuses from that point. As he comes in, it's St George 10, Newtown 10. And the flags are up. An excellent kick by Johnny King, and now St George have got back into the lead and lead Newtown 12 points to 10 after 13 minutes play in the second half. And Newtown have won the ball. That's all right too from the play of the ball, and Newtown have the ball on the St George 25. Paul Cuneo trying to go through it. He tries to beat Ryan, gets his pass back there to Boyle. Boyle with a long one to Paul Quinn. There's a bit of an overlap coming up. They can just hurry, but he's run straight and hard there into Madison and put down 20 yards out from the St George line. Plays it to Jeffries. Nobbs. Wilson. Wilson back the other way. I don't think that's the right move, and he's going straight and hard. Props goes straight now underneath. A good tackle by Walsh, and he's about 20 yards short of the St George line. A bit of a tussle going on further back there with Huddard, Clay and a couple of other Newtown players. Let's see what comes of this. If there's a penalty coming up, the game will certainly be drawn.
It should be a penalty to St George, from the way I see it, because Clay was trying to chase the Newtown player, and he was interfered with by the Newtown players there, so it should have been if there's going to be any penalty. Probably not, he's blaming them both, but to my way I think it should have been a penalty to St George, because Clay was interfered with after he's endeavouring to run after a man.
Well, from the scrum, it's still a Newtown ball, and Nobbs gets onto it, tackled by Smith, and he's put down 20 yards out still, so they're no worse off from the St George line. Jeffries again, the dummy half to Paul Quinn, gets it away well there to Cuneo. Cuneo straight and hard, and he's made it up just a couple of yards closer to the St George line. Jeffries gets it away to Paul Quinn, a long one over here to Carnegie, to Keys. He's got Bullock with him, and he goes back the other side, almost beats a tackle there by Langlands. Langlands comes again and puts him down. He'll play it to Jeffries. Jeffries with a good one to Paul Quinn, is still going back towards the member stand touchline, straight and hard now into Ryan, and he's put down 8 yards short of the St George line. Gets it away to Nobbs, then across to Carnegie, to Keys, looks towards Bullock. Bullock was in a good position for a pass, but it didn't reach him. Wilson, the dummy half this time, to Nobbs. Good one to Olive. Olive trying to beat Huddard, eventually tackled there by Madison, and Newtown, I think they'll do better if they run straight. They keep going across field. Goes this time to Cuneo, behind Keys, and we're going to be picked up by Bullock. Bullock goes back the other way, goes around Clay, still going, beats Huddard, still going, beats one tackle there by Langlands, and eventually tackled by Madison. A good run, and brings play back only 15 yards out from the St George line. Goes there to Boyle, to Nobbs. Nobbs props, tries to beat Clay. Clay helps bring him down. Still only 15 yards or so out from the St George line. Boyle now, the Newtown lock going through, comes to Clay. Clay eventually helps pull him down by one leg. The tackler was really Ryan. Goes to Paul Quinn, throws it back the other side there to Olive. Olive straight and hard, and the St George defence is waiting for him. 10 yards now out from the St George line. Fed out by Jeffries there to Boyle, Carnegie, Keys. There's nobody. Where's Bullock? Wasn't back into position, a bit late getting over, and he couldn't possibly have thrown a pass to the winger. Keys playing the ball, gets it to Carnegie. It'll go to Graham, the Newtown fullback coming up, tries to bluff his way through there, but they were waiting for him, and he'll play this one about 15 yards out from the St George line. It'll go to Olive, straight and hard into the St George pack, and he's dragged himself forward. 10 yards, no more out from the St George line as it goes there to Quinn. Here's Wilson flying for the line. Beautiful round the ankles tackle, grasses him, and now they're only about 4 yards short of the Dragons line. Played back there by Quinn and to the other Quinn, and he's put down 5-6 yards out from the St George line. It'll come here to Nobbs, then across to Keys with the bandage on the head, tackled from behind by Langlands, and he'll play this one 10 to 12 yards out from the St George line. It comes to Olive. Olive props, goes the other way, straight and hard, goes through Clay, still going, eventually brought down there by Ryan, about 5 yards short. They're back where they were. It comes to Paul Quinn, straight and hard for the line and put down 2 yards short. They must go in if they can keep up this pressure. Quinn plays it to Jeffries. Nobbs props, dummies, goes the other way, almost sneaks out of a tackle, wrestles himself forward, and he's put down about 3 yards short. He plays it to Jeffries. Across to Paul to Cuneo, to Wilson. Wilson's beautifully tackled underneath by Smith. Will get up and play this one about 6 yards out. Back to Keys, a dummy half. Boyle, let's see what he can do with it. Tries to step around a couple of tackles, dragged down there by Huddard, and he'll play this one centre field right in front of the posts. Oh, loose on the ground. Who'll get to that one? Carnegie just managed to get to it. Dived on by Smith. I think Smith may have regained, and he has for St George. Well, that's a let-off for St George after all of that. They have the ball back. Comes to Rasmussen. I think he knocked it on. Well, from triumph to disaster as the scrum will now pack down, and if Newtown get it, you can rest assured that St George will have to go through all that defensive thing all over again. The scrum to go down 20 yards out.
Wonderful defence by St George there, and good attacking by
and it's a Newtown ball, Ray.
Yes, Newtown
That's a bullock to Graham up as extra man. He's trying. Oh, he smashes through Langland, still going, and brings play up 20 yards now only from the St George line. Key swings it back the other way. It's gone behind everybody. I think Bullock will get to it for Newtown, and tackled by Clay's now been pushed back outside the St George 25 to Bullock. Tries to step around Clay and does so, and he's flying for the line but dragged down beautifully from behind. Will have to get up and play this ball, only 15 yards out. Keys gets it across there to Quinn. Here's a bit of a gap coming. He's flying for the corner. He's still on one leg, can't get a pass clear. They can't put him down. Eventually he is crashed down, but only 10 yards out from the St George line. They can't afford to lose position. They mightn't get another chance as Nobbs swings it out to Keys. Keys out to Bullock. Bullock's hemmed in, trying to go through with it. Gets a wild sort of a pass back to Wilson. Wilson's tackled by Clay, and they're losing just a little bit in possession. Played it to Jeffries. Nobbs, Keys, trying to go through, tackle underneath there by Walsh, centre field and just inside the St George 25. Jeffries at the dummy half. Across here to Olive, to Cuneo, who's slipping as he goes through, and he's well taken there by Clay. Will get up and play it back to Olive, to Nobbs, to Boyle, across there to Carnegie, who's going wide, tackled well by Smith, and Newtown being forced back a little bit now. They're outside the St George 25. Loose on the ground, picked up by Graham. Straight and hard, trying to carve his way through, but beautifully tackled from behind there by Billy Smith. Still loose on the ground, went behind Paul Quinn, and Juggley's a penalty against Billy Smith to Newtown in a simple spot for Bob Lanigan. Very important kick for Lanigan, because Newtown want at least a draw out of this match. They prefer to win, of course, but if they get beaten, their chances of making the semis really start to dim. And here's the kick, and it's flagged away that time to the right of the post, and the crowd are absolutely amazed. Bounces through Jeffries, almost burst clear too, and he's brought play out outside the St George 25. Plays it to Walsh to Raper. Straight and hard, Cuneo gets him in a very high tackle, puts him down 35 yards out from the St George line. All that Newtown can hope for is a loose ball. Oh, there it is. I think there's the knock-on, and the scrum to go down just outside the St George 25. Well, Kevin Ryan could kick himself. Now this is, as Ray Steers' famous phrase, desperation tactics. If Newtown get the ball, the clock's showing no more than 1 minute to go, and surely they'll have to use the kick here or anything if they get the ball, and they are not getting the ball from the look of it. But I think we might see the scrum pack down again. We'll see in a moment. No, St George have won the ball from the scrum, and Rasmussen gets it to Clay. That's probably the last chance Newtown will have, and Clay running his way through has brought play up about 12 yards short of the halfway line. Played back there by Rasmussen to Langlands to Huddard. Underneath the tackler is Keys, but he beats Keys, still going, beats Boyle. Eventually followed across by Bullock, and Bullock puts him down 10 yards short of the halfway line. And there's the full-time hooter in the background, and it's Langlands with the ball as the play now comes to a halt. And what an exciting finish to what really ended up as a very, very exciting game. St George then has defeated Newtown 12 points to 10, and for St George, tries by Graham Langlands and Johnny Raper, 2 goals by Johnny King and a goal by Graham Langlands, and for Newtown 5 goals by Bob Lanigan. And now for his closing comments, here's Ray Steer.
Thank you, Jim. Well, before a crowd of 15,177 this afternoon, St George defeated Newtown 12 points to 10 and thus won the minor premiership of New South Wales for 1966. Full merit to St George for their win, but it wasn't a convincing win as many people expected. Newtown has all the credit in the world to Newtown, because they came back into the game after being well down in the early stages and fought back in extraordinary circumstances. Many of the decisions in today's game were questioned by the big crowd here, but still it finished up a most enjoyable and exciting match at the finish. the outstanding players for St George, I thought, on the occasion. For Brian Clay, always Brian Clay, and the captain Ian Walsh played a good captain's game, and Johnny King, of course, on the wing, done very well. Graham Langlands was hardly seen all day after coming back, and on the Newtown side was a good team effort, and their forwards took the St George forwards on in the centre. Paul Quinn, Bruce Olive, Cuneo and Wilson, and even Les Boyle, the lock forward, did excellent jobs. I thought Bobby Keys hung on too long, lost the advantage that his side had. And that's all from the Sydney Cricket Ground this afternoon, where St George defeated Newtown 14 points to 12.